Today's episode of What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure Stories of an 8 podcast is going to be different. There is no guest. This is the 52nd episode. That means we have been on this journey together for 1 year, and I'm so grateful for it and for you for listening. I am Jenna Quinton, founder of Adjust Your Media, and I am going to do a solo episode today. We're doing it as a 5 for 5. I want to share 5 things that I wish every human knew based off of these amazing interviews that we have had all year. So the first thing is that dysregulated children should be checked by a chiropractor. And I'm going to list some episodes where we hear those stories. You will find them in the show notes as well. Episode number 39 was with Dr. Amy Spoelstra, who is an amazing doctor out in Idaho who has a whole program for kids and for chiropractors to train them to help them to find and identify and correct dysfunction in the nervous system so that kiddos with neurological challenges can be calmer and happier. One of her programs is the Focus Academy and the other is Brain Blossom. And I love that image. So another episode is number 22 with Dr. Tony Ebel from the Pediatric Experience. He also has amazing podcasts that you can listen to about how children are experiencing miracles. Children with, again, neurological dysfunction, neurological challenges. So listen to both of those. Top 2 for pediatric. Also, number 50, Dr. Andy Kamerman. He is in Omaha, and he has a very personal, amazing story about ADHD that's just going to encourage parents' hearts. Then episode number 30 is Dr. Chantal Shetstad, and I think I said that right. Apologies to Chantal if I said it wrong because we practiced it. But her story as a doctor is about a 6-year-old whose parents were just blown away by the progress that they were seeing. Then number 36 is Dr. Devin Vrana, and she also shares a personal story from a mother's point of view that is just amazing and really encouraging to parents. We also have number 44, Dr. Tom Preston up in Canada, and he shares about a child who was in his office who was just a menace. He was like, we had to prep the whole office for her coming in, and then how she found nervous system peace and regulation through chiropractic care. And then number 47 is Dr. Brant Hulsebus. Again, if I'm saying names wrong, I apologize. I try hard at it, but I'm human too. So that is an amazing story from Dr. Brant, and he tells about when he was first in practice, and it was a family who had been coming in to see his family of chiropractors for generations. And when he saw a child who was just really struggling, who couldn't even sit still, who was just all over the place, how he felt the confidence to step in and suggest, can I check this child? And the amazing Atlas adjustment that kiddo received. So that's the first thing that I would want every human to know. Dysregulated children should be checked by a pediatric chiropractor. The next one is babies. We had so many episodes talking about newborn babies. Number 35 with Dr. Ian Shtulman. Number 42 with Dr. Louis Singer. Number 17 with Dr. Alain Desaulniers. Number 46 with Dr. Jack Bourla, president of Sherman College. And number 16 with Dr. Ryan Reider. All of these were amazing episodes about babies. So use this as a resource. If you have parents in your practice, tell them, I'd love to send you this story about a baby who received chiropractic care. So use those episodes. The third thing is that the greatest chiropractors master the art, the science, and the philosophy of chiropractic. This was an overarching theme that I saw as well from great doctors like Dr. John Minardi, who was episode number 7, Dr. Steve Judson, who is in episode 9, and number 48 was Dr. Rebecca Yaun, who talked about this. She's also a professor of technique, so that was amazing to hear from her. Number 29 was Dr. Tom Waller from the UK, and I just loved how he blended it all in and just shared the foundation of the art, the science, the philosophy. And then number 14 was Dr. Barbara Eaton, and she has amazing programs and things. She's from Alaska, and she shares about the brain and how it's not really about the bones of the spine. It's about how chiropractic is impacting the brain. Amazing, amazing sciencey stuff for all of my chiropractic nerds. So then number 4 of what I wanted every human on earth to hear in this podcast is the wide variety of these stories. The amazing various things that chiropractic is helping with. So number 28 was Dr. Julia North, and she was helping a young woman with Down syndrome. How amazing is that to improve the performance and quality of life for this beautiful person? There was also episodes about things you would think would be random for chiropractic, like deafness. That was Dr. Marilyn Shore, episode number 24. Or delayed speech was a big topic for 2 episodes. Dr. Steph Libs was episode 38, and Dr. Lise Cloutier was episode number 11. The 5th thing that I wish everybody knew is the mind-body-soul connection. Dr. Katina talked about this in episode 19. Dr. Nona Djavid talked about it in episode 15. And Dr. Trent Scheidecker was amazing. I think I got those numbers mixed up. I think Dr. Nona was episode 31 and Dr. Trent Scheidecker was number 15. And then Dr. Mel Krug was episode 32. So those are the 5 things. Look up for all of those episodes in the show notes. My second point that I wanted to share of my 5 for 5 is the 5 episodes that fundamentally changed me. Because while I was on this journey and I was sharing it, I felt like this was a very personal, wonderful thing that impacted me and was beneficial to me. So Dr. Tim Young, that episode, just that amazing feeling that this busy person would take time and talk to me, that if you ask, they might say yes. Dr. Tony Ebel, that was an amazing episode. I just had so much fun and there was just so much energy. He's such a passionate person. He was the first interview that I noticed that he was standing up to do the interview, which I stand up because I gotta move. And I loved the energy, and it just feels amazing to speak to people who are running in the same direction, where you look over and you're like, hey buddy, keep at it. Thanks for cheering me on as well. The 3rd episode that really changed me was with Dr. Ryan Dobbs. He is a friend and our personal chiropractor. And he was just so raw and vulnerable, talking about facing the hard part of life. And that was definitely an amazing episode. We're going to talk about it more in a minute. The 4th episode, Dr. Peter Amlinger, I just got a glimpse of what he talks about when he says going into the sacred silence where all souls dwell, where all spirits dwell. He was up in Canada, but I tell you, that episode, it was like he was in the room with me, and that is a moment that I will always treasure. And episode number 5 on my list was actually episode number 1, and that was with my dear friend, Dr. Denise Stops. We'll also talk about that more in a minute. So I wanted to share too, my 3rd of my 5 for 5 is numbers for the podcast. Like a year of episodes, somebody's going to ask me, what is the return on investment? They will. So at the time of this recording, we're at over 2,300 downloads. And that is amazing. And it also shows me like we've got room for growth. We've got room to tune it in. The most downloaded episode number 33, gotta love the chiropractors who tuned into that. So episode number 33 was Dr. Ryan Dobbs. The 2nd most downloaded episode was number 3, Dr. Tim Young. And the next one was Dr. Alain Desaulniers. And the next one was Dr. Denise Dobbs, who was episode number 1. And then my next numbers is the top 3 countries. I thought this was pretty cool and I kind of nerded out on it. The US, Germany, and Canada. So thanks to everybody there. The longest episode is my next number, and that was number 41 with Dr. Peter Amlinger. And 5, the only reviews that I've gotten have been 5 stars, so I very deeply appreciate that. If you would like to go and leave me a review on Spotify or Castbox or Apple Podcast and leave me a review, I would deeply appreciate that. That helps to share more episodes. So, 5 things that I have learned from hosting a podcast. Like I said, when I ask, I receive. One of the first people that I reached out to was Dr. Danny Knowles. He is episode number 2, and he immediately said yes. He immediately booked, took time out of his busy day. He has so many things going on with the amazing Mile High conference that he hosts every year, as well as his coaching program and all of these things. And I am so grateful for these kind people who are so passionate about chiropractic and so willing to accept an opportunity to share about chiropractic. The second thing that I learned was kind of that question that came up for me multiple times was, who am I to talk to these amazing people? Who am I to do XYZ? So if you ever feel that, I would encourage you. Dr. Ron Oberstein was episode number 40, and he is the president of Life West. And that was just so, again, these amazing doctors who took time from their day and who assured me, who am I to talk to them? We are both humans, and we're both passionate about chiropractic. The third thing that I really learned was collaboration is everything. My sister Faith is my podcast producer and video editor, and she makes this happen. Alone, I could not do this at all. Alone, it would be just barely me recording videos. So that is something that I learned, that if I want to take on more and if I want to expand my reach and impact, I'm not going to do it alone. So shout out to Faith. You're amazing and I love you so much. My fourth thing that I learned was really that classic interview question: what are your strengths? Technically, in my life, I have only interviewed and had one job. Otherwise, chronic entrepreneur over here. So what is one of my strengths? It was really encouraging to find that I not only enjoy doing podcasts, but interviewing is one of my strong points. And I very much appreciated, shout out to Dr. Joe and his wife Britta for their encouragement, for sending me messages, and for just encouraging me and telling me, like, you're doing a good job with this. So that is something that I learned and that I want to continue to grow in, is finding my strong points and then using them, going all in on them. The fifth thing that I learned from hosting a podcast for a year is that strong systems make it happen. I have 4 kids. My husband is a firefighter paramedic. Right now I have 2 kids in track, 2 kids in soccer. You know, there's various family things, wanting to be there for my grandma, wanting to run a business, run a team, get groceries, maybe someday do laundry, a little bit of yard work, all of these things. And what I'm really finding is that strong systems make it happen. So in order to make this podcast happen, we have a column in Trello where we have cards where I have a checklist that I just repeat for every episode, so that I can go down that checklist and say, okay, I've got a headshot, I have recorded it, here's the intro, here's all of the things that I need, here's the show notes. And that has just been a lifesaver, and it's really helped me to learn that skill of how do I systematize this? What can I automate? And again, what can I delegate to the amazing people around me? Our last of our 5 for 5 is 5 reflections going forward. And here is where I need a little bit of your help. I need a little bit of your interaction. So wherever you can reach out to me or comment and let me know. But my first reflection going forward is that there's room to grow. There's room to fine tune and adjust. You know, I would love for this to be a podcast that is useful to families and to chiropractors. So I know that having that split focus is a little bit difficult, and I need to do some fine tuning there. So my second reflection is frequency. Is 4 interviews every month too much? Is it not enough? I am considering going to 2 interviews per month. I would love to know your thoughts on that. So let me know in the comments, or let me know by reaching out to me, jenna@adjustyourmedia.com, or at Adjust Your Media on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. The third thing that I'm thinking about is format. So should we continue with our story? And then how do we tell more stories format? What I am considering is maybe doing 2 interviews a month, where one episode is just the story with that interviewee, and then the second episode the week later is their marketing advice for how we can get louder in telling our stories. So I think that this would be a little bit more shareable, that you would share the stories with families in your practice, but then that chiropractors would be interested in listening to the episode on the marketing advice and storytelling advice. So considering doing that, and I would love to hear your thoughts. 2 episodes a month, 1 episode or 2 interviews a month, still a weekly episode, but one that was a story the next week, marketing advice. So I would love to know what you think. And then my fourth reflection is I need more guests. So I would love to know, who should I talk to? Who has a story? Please introduce me, send me names, send me an email, again, jenna@adjustyourmedia.com, and I would love to know who you would recommend as guests. And then my fifth and final reflection going forward is thinking about sponsorships. Right now, I know that I do not have the numbers that would make that really viable, but I am interested in what would that look like? How could I use this platform to really share more about businesses that I appreciate and businesses that are principled, and how can I support them and promote them using this platform so that we can all benefit equally as well. To close out this quick 5 for 5 1-year anniversary episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about episode number 1, the one that started it all off for me, and that was with my dear friend Dr. Denise Dops, and I really recommend that you go back and listen to it, because one little quote that she said was, and I'm not quoting it exactly, I'm paraphrasing, but she talked about that treating our bodies for a symptom and trying to target that is so unfair to our potential for wellness. Let that sink in for a minute. It's unfair to our potential for wellness to try to just target a symptom. And then she said, our innate will take us where we need to go when we are in alignment. Where do we need to go? And that is such a beautiful thing to think about, because our innate will take us where we need to go with a podcast. Our innate will take us where we need to go in business, in relationships, in life, when we are in alignment. And so even recording this here today is emotional. This is Denise's podcast microphone and her headphones that she kindly gave to me because she no longer needs them on this earth. She went ahead and her innate took her where she needed to go, which sadly for all of us is not here on earth with us anymore. So I am so grateful, deeply grateful that she recorded that episode 1 year ago with me while she still could, that she blessed us with her presence on earth. I'm so deeply grateful for her husband, Dr. Ryan Dops, sharing on episode number 33. It is exactly 33 minutes long, also, if you want to nerd out. So go listen to that. And then, like I said, Dr. Peter Amlinger's episode kind of wraps up. So if you were going to listen to 3 episodes, I'd say Dr. Denise, Dr. Ryan Dops, then Dr. Peter Amlinger, who we talked about that chiropractic is not supposed to be a cure for death. It doesn't keep us from dying. It is allowing us to live and to live fully. And like Dr. Denise said, live to our full potential. So thank you so much for being with me on this podcast. Thank you for following. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for all that you do. If you are a chiropractor, thank you for all that you do to clear people's nervous systems and give them their best life. And if you are a chiropractic patient, thank you for all that you do to make sure that you can function to your full and optimal potential, that your light can shine bright in this world. And if you have never been to a chiropractor, I would encourage you to reach out. I'm connected to a network of wonderful ones, and we can find one for you in your hometown. So thanks so much for listening.